Ladies and gentlemen, top of the evening to you, and welcome to episode 10 of newsblog/failblog/ I talk whilst I play video games about my channel and a few other things. Still, obviously, it has identity crisis, this format, but we're working on it. No, we're not. Anyhow, let's grab a quick job so we have something to do in the background whilst we talk. We have a chemical delivery from Oxnard to Carson City. Looks like a decent ride, actually. 17,000, very well paid. Although vegetables are even better paid. Although that's literally dragging the cargo across the street. So we're gonna go with this one. Looks like a decent distance as well for an episode. So, as usual, I hope you guys have been doing fine, enjoying the long weekend here in the UK. The bank holiday weekend, of course, is what I mean. May Day, I think is what it's called. 1st of May. And let's see what we got here. Pretty matching color scheme. That's nice. And we've got quite an unusual cargo, what looks like a refrigerator unit. For the trailer rather than one of those cisterns, one of the tanks. But, you know, I'm not gonna complain. Right, let's see if I can remember the controls for this thing. Obviously that's that. Lights, yep, off we go. Where's the exit for this thing? Is it somewhere here? Oh, it's literally other side? Interesting. I did just go completely the wrong way. It's fine, we'll try and turn around. It's not really enough space to turn out this way. What if we turn this way? Do a 360. Stop here. Turn the wheel all the way back this way. Come on. Yeah, there should be plenty of way to do it this way. Come on. Am I gonna squeeze past? Let's try. No, I think that's too close. So yes. Oop. I hope there was no trailer damage. In fact, there wasn't, so I'm happy. And let's roll, ladies and gentlemen. So as you may have noticed, there hasn't been... Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to turn the right mirror off. Sorry, left mirror. Ooh, pillar in the middle of the road. That's cheeky. And I almost drove into another one. So it's very smooth start. No, it's not. I really need to pay a little bit more attention. So yes, as you may have noticed, it hasn't been a very active couple of weeks for me. I've done very few videos, and I was telling myself I would come back to form per se this weekend. However, I did fail to do so. I did record what's in my Steam library. That's pending upload. I've also, am currently recording this, so that's 2, but stuff that's a bit more involved, and I'm just literally winging this corner. Okay, that is an example of how you should not drive, and how you should pay attention as to what the flipping heck you're doing. Lesson learned? No, it's not. Let's continue. I've promised myself I would finally do that hardware review, whereas I look into the PC I've built specifically for Mass Effect on the budget. It's kind of in between the two budget builds that I've videos on right now. The budget build, between budget build and super budget build. It's relatively a decent piece of hardware thrown together. And I'm quite happy with the results. I also need to test a few other games, potentially not only Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda. But that was the whole purpose of it, like, let's put it this way, the gimmick. Must say, I'm also really enjoying Mass Effect Andromeda. I've just uploaded the second video, and I have footage for another 2. And it's going okay within the game. I'm experiencing that withdrawal effect, whereas the first hour or hour and a half is very involved. You are pretty much on the rails. It's the opening of the game that is the usual bread and butter of RPGs and pretty much any game that you can think of. You know, at first there's a lot of hand-holding. There's a lot of you go there and do that, and you don't really have much freedom or say in that. With quite a few notable exceptions, but as a rule of thumb, I'm talking here. And very quickly, however, this is I've noticed with Mass Effect 1, which I've played for, or tried to get into 3 or 4 times, and I just really couldn't. I noticed that the first mission is kind of a, you know, you go there, you do that, and all of a sudden, when that's finished, you're thrown into this huge, massive open world. It's not that open, it's not that massive, let's be honest, but there's plenty to do. And it's your choice, what do you do, how quickly you want to jump on a mission, or whether you want to hang around in the hub, so to speak, and, you know, do some missions, side quests, conversations, learn who's who, and help some people on the way, potentially. Well, getting some nice rewards, of course. And that overwhelming feeling sometimes can be a bit appalling, which I definitely found the case in the past many a time. And I kind of had the same feeling whilst I was playing Andromeda, but because I was filming, because I was recording... Oh my god, this guy's really slow at the corner. Oh, that's why. Oh, and I'm... Fuck! 1500, really? Oh my god, my luck. I literally clipped the other guy at the back, with the back of my trailer, and it was definitely my fault, I'm not arguing, but 1500 for a fine. I was just so unlucky to have a cop behind me. So, yes. Because I was recording, however, I kinda told myself to pull it together and, you know, just bear through it. And this is something I always knew about myself. If I am able to sit through the time and or period where I feel a little bit... what's the best word to describe it? Well, I feel a little bit disengaged and removed from the game world, thinking that, you know, it's a bit too tedious, or I just simply can't be bothered. I'm definitely quicker than this guy, although I am overtaking a very silly place. And I think there's still a cop behind me, so let's not be surprised if we get another fine for overtaking across the double line. There we go. Oh, it's not that. It's actually a wrong way violation. Cheers, coppa. It's a fun road, though. However, I was able to pull through that time where I was feeling a little bit meh. And in the end, I did enjoy those 3 hours. It was a long gaming session. In the end, I didn't even realize I had played the game for 3 hours. And I was like, cool, I've got footage for 3 videos. That's gonna take me 2 weeks before before the next PlayStation when I record, or have to record anyways. That's another issue with, you know, not dishing out Let's Play videos every day. Although that being said, maybe I should, because at least that's some content, as opposed to me trying to leave time and space for other videos, but I don't really upload any other kind of videos. Why did my... Oh, was that a retarder? Oh, that was a retarder note, icon coming up on the display, rather than parking brake. I was like, who just pulled a handbrake? So yes, I have spent quite a lot of time this week playing 2 games. First one is being Heroes of the Storm, which you may be aware of. I'm really enjoying it. I've actually just played 2 competitive games, ranked matches for the very first time. First one went super smoothly. I played as Li Ming, she's my kind of a main hero, and I really enjoyed playing her, and the match went super smooth. We won within 17 minutes. It was a very clean sweep. I died a couple of times, but that was... Well, once I was focused immediately, they kind of at that point realized that I'm dealing too much damage to be ignored. The other time, I wasn't even greedy, I just stupidly walked in front of 3 enemy heroes and kind of had phased out, I guess, and they just picked me off very easily. Second one, I played as Noah, and that didn't go nowhere near as well. I did blame it on my teammates at that time, but who doesn't when they're losing? I realized I wasn't doing that great myself, as I haven't really played Nova in a long while. But regardless, it was a positive experience overall, and I'm definitely looking into playing it. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because the other game I've been playing is CSGO with a couple of friends, and we primarily focus on competitive. Now, here's the reason. One of my friends said he only plays competitive, or tries to play competitive only, just because how much more enjoyable an experience it is. And, you know, my only other competitive gaming experience being from games like League of Legends way back when I used to play that game. And I'm just thinking, is there anything else I used to play competitive? I don't think so. But potentially, you know, watching other people play, or hearing other people's opinions about competitive and ranked matches and so on. You know what? I just realized something. My wheel is very unsensitive, and that's something that's bothering me a little bit. Steering sensitivity, stiffness, just increase those a little bit, because it's just too loose. Let's see if that actually makes a difference. Yeah, a little bit. Unless force feedback is gone on this wheel. Oh yeah, actually, it seems that... Huh. The light is not on my wheel. Is this marking the end of it? Is there, like, power input missing? Ah, yes. The power cable wasn't connected properly, so there was no force feedback. There we go. Now there comes the stiffness. That's fine. I totally do not mind it. So yes, overall my experience and maybe even prejudgment towards competitive or ranked was a little negative. But after playing, I think, about maybe 10 or 11 competitive CS matches in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I must say I totally agree. I've experienced and encountered none of the abuse that I honestly expected to. Being a complete noob, not only in CSGO, but in shooters in general. I've had a couple of good games and a couple of good moments overall, but, you know, nowhere near to call myself even sufficiently competent even for the big entry level of competitive. But overall, people were very I wouldn't say positive, but they were very focused on the game. There was no blame shared, and everyone was helping each other out with call-outs and directions, and guys who were clearly a bit more experienced and just good players overall, like, say, my friends, they were giving call-outs and giving instructions, and so did the strangers. It was really a positive gaming experience, and definitely, that I think about it, without any competition, the best competitive gaming experience I've had. And when I say competitive, you know, we're not competing in a tournament, not for a prize or anything along those lines. When I say competitive, Grank, double line, I'm gonna smash into that prick RNI piece of shit. I'm sorry, I'm raging, but seriously, that guy just slowed down for no reason. Was there a slow? No, it's still 55. So he slowed down because he saw 2 lanes coming up and he got confused. AI in this game is really, it triggers me sometimes. But it's only truck damage, which I think the penalty for is minimal. It's the cargo damage that we really have to look out for, and our cargo is still golden, so we're good. So yes, you know, when I say competitive, that was only us playing against other people for, you know, our rank, and the game mode is slightly different. It's consisting of 15 rounds on each side, so 30 rounds in total, best out of 30. Yeah, it was just really fun, really focused, and not to the point where, you know, everyone was going crazy if you die or if you don't do well, but everyone, you know, understanding that it's a team effort and trying to help each other whichever way possible. So yes, that was a great experience. Other than that, I've spent about 5 or 6 hours yesterday and today playing Stronghold Crusader HD on Steam. Now, the reason why I've jumped back into that game, I used to play it quite a bit when I was younger. I remember... actually, no, I don't remember where we got the disc from. But it was a Russian version. as a lot of games that were sold in Lithuania on the, in the general shops, or even somewhere a bit more specialized shops, were released by or re-released by Russian publishers. Therefore, they had full Russian voice acting, or Russian dubbed in Russian, Russian texts. So I didn't really find that a problem, because when you know what's going on, the language itself and the announcements are not really necessary. And I've spent quite a few hours playing that game, and the reason I started playing it again, because I was looking forward to Dawn of War 3 release, and it finally came out last week. And not another one. Oh, are you serious, mate? Why are you slowing down so much? I mean, yes, I'm not keeping safe distance, but I'm also talking and trying to focus and be coherent and make sense, and pricks like that don't help. So, screw you. So yes, I watched Total Biscuit's stream playing it, and he was doing some multiplayer games, and it's not that it looked bad. It's not that it looked incompetent or unfinished, although one might argue certain features seem that way. It just felt uninspired and bland is the word, really. It felt bland. There was no excitement about it. It seemed a little bit underwhelming, and I wouldn't necessarily say generic, because that's countered by the fact that it has Warhammer 40k theme to it. But I don't know. It's difficult to say without actually having played the game to see how the gameplay feels, how the factions play out, how responsive the units are, and how enjoyable and how does it feel to use them in the battle and command your troops. But base building seemed to be dumbed down a little bit. Obviously the Dawn of War specific, Dawn of War-esque, and I must say probably that's Relic-esque resource collection by capturing strategic points within the map is there, and I have no problems with that whatsoever. I mean, Company of Heroes did that, which is also a Relic game. Dawn of War 1 and 2 did. I haven't played 2, but I've played quite a bit of 1, and no problems with that. Rather than gathering resources with your with villagers or alternative equivalent units, you just capture the points and you acquire them over time. There's no problem with that, but there seemed to be simplified building curve of your base, which I find a little I'm not gonna say I dislike it, but again, I miss that building like that. Not necessarily as Media Stronghold Crusader, for instance, where building and the way you build, that's necessity. You have to do it. That's what that game is all about. But something along the lines of potentially StarCraft, where you have to have a decent amount of buildings, and you have to build them in certain order and do research to unlock other higher tiered buildings that provide better upgrades or better, more expensive units, and so on and so forth. And that I found, from what I've seen, really a little lacking. Now, one little weird thing, and especially in real-time strategy games, this is not an important a point as in a few other genres. I think overall it's a bit overrated, but graphically the game looked a bit meh. I mean, not only how good the textures and the quality of animations, which I'd say textures could definitely could have been better. It's a good looking game, but it's not that great, if you know what I mean. But it's just the scale of things. It was a little bit weird. Say, for instance, again, my whole experience comes from seeing Total Biscuit play it, plus one other video on YouTube of some guy. I don't really remember who it was. Otherwise, I would be very happy to point it to you. The units, for instance, he was playing Eldar Race. The units seem extremely small compared to the buildings. Now, the buildings were themselves, the way they were designed, were pretty cool, especially some orc buildings where there's a I don't even know what sort of building that was really. It looked like maybe a barracks, but it was like a war factory with cogs turning and, you know, steam coming out of the chimneys, and you can see the building is alive. There's something happening inside. That I thought was really cool little animation for that building, and the buildings themselves were sufficiently adequate visually. The units, however, a little small, a little underwhelming in that respect, and the weirdest thing was the elite units is like the big thing of Dawn of War 3, whereas you can call upon this super extremely expensive but incredibly powerful unit that can swing the battle on its own. Can pretty much flatten entire armies if the enemy does not know how to react to it, and even if it does, countering itself, I think to those units specifically, it's a pretty hard thing to pull off. So I was expecting those elite units to be incredibly colossal creatures, colossal units, and they are not. And that's really, in on itself, a little bit underwhelming. And the interesting thing is, I've noticed this with quite a few games, how the size of the battlefield that the camera is able to capture at any given point, especially if you don't have zoom in, zoom out option, which actually that game very well might, but given the fact that it was constantly played on that size, I think it was zoomed out to the max, so you can't go out any further, only zoom in if you so desire. And here's the interesting thing. Because potentially of the size of the buildings and just the way the maps are created, you know, the way obstacles and you know items, props on the map are displayed, their size seemed to be a little disproportional, and that kind of made me think that overall there wasn't a lot of things to be seen, or you can't see a lot of stuff on the screen at one point. It's like it's quite zoomed in because of the scale of items, and even with units, I thought, again, this is my just reflection and impressions without having actually played the game. The units themselves, although being quite small, the teams themselves the units within the squad, stay quite spread out. Oh my god, really? Dude, come on, move up. And therefore, you know, even though the units themselves are pretty squad, the squad still takes a considerable amount of space on your screen at any given point. And stuff like that, you know, it seems a little bit not unoptimized, but unpolished, a little bit rushed. You know, you could have you know, maybe reduced the size of the buildings and increased the size of units. But you know what? In the end, I do realize I'm nitpicking a lot, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of an insight over why a game does feel as if it hasn't delivered. Not at all, because I'm sure it's a competitive game, and you know, if you know someone who likes strategy games and you are able to pick up that game, you would have a pretty enjoyable experience. Even you know, we can discuss how long would you be playing that game for and general longevity of it, but you know, that's a different thing entirely. But just overall, the game seems slightly unfinished, slightly. There's someone coming from. Cranky. I'm being very aggressive here. But I'm driving in a desert, man. There's no rules. There are no laws. Like overtaking a car on a curve. Why? Because I'm an idiot. There we go. Beautiful. So yes, that's Dawn of War 3. And you know what? I must say, despite everything I've said just now, I still am tempted to try it out. And I must say the only reason why is because of the Steam refund system. That thing is a really big change to Steam that's happened in the past, and a very positive change as well. Because, you know, if I'm spending £40, it really has to be a game, and it has to deliver on some level and be quite a memorable experience in that regard. Say, like NieR has been one of the examples. And yes, with Dawn of War, I'm just not sure whether £40 is gonna be the cost that will bring me enough, let's put it this way, value for my money in terms of how much time I'm gonna end up spending on it and how much I'm gonna enjoy it. So that's Dawn of War 3. Next thing, actually, since I mentioned NieR, apparently there's a DLC coming out this week that will include few new quests, few extra skins, and I think something else. I can't even remember. You know what? I'm actually... I just realized that this is a little bit embarrassing if I'm hoping to do this as a, like, you know, fail block with some news, gaming news. So I'm literally driving all the way across the road right now because I am also Googling. Don't text and drive, children. Let's see. Oh god, why there are no decent... Oh my god. NieR DLC Automata, okay. Polygon, oh great, the one website that I did not want to open an article from, but... So, they're gonna have... they're naming it, Square Enix naming it a very original way. It's actually very NieR-esque, giving the setting of the game. The actual name, are you ready for it, is 3C1D119440927. That's the actual name of the DLC. So it's going to include costumes for androids 2B, 9B, and 2B, A2, and 9S. Sorry, you're running out of fuel. Oh, that's great. Yes, let's just keep driving and pretend that's not gonna happen. It will include cosmetics, hairsprays, like I mentioned, the costumes. They are introducing a new boss within the game, which is going to be the actual president, or two presidents of Square Enix and Platinum Games, both publisher and developer, respectively. Yosuke Matsuda and Kenichi Sato. They're gonna be bosses you can fight and battle in the game. That's an interesting little touch. As long as, you know, as long as they're tied in the story and they're not just dropped in there just for the sake of it, then I have no problems with that whatsoever. And another thing that Square Enix apparently promises is, next to all those costumes, great, additional sub-quests that can earn players some of the previously mentioned cosmetic rewards. I mean, okay, whatever. So, yes, I was a little bit more hyped about it, and reading through this kind of knocked that hype down a little bit. If it's, you know, okay, we'll have to squeeze in behind this guy because there's a big truck coming up ahead. You know, skins are fine, I don't mind that, and sub-quests is probably going to be the main meat, especially if they lead to those extra boss fights. I won't have any problem with that. And it also very much depends how much they charge for it. I'd say anything up to £10 would probably be very reasonable. Anything above that for a bunch of quests and what they seem to be advertising and are basing their advertisement campaign on pushing for those skins is nah. And yes, of the other things actually that I wanted to mention, apart from that, the one other being Prey is coming out 5th of May, and that game, apart from looking quite visually stunning, I'll be honest, it also looks pretty interesting. If you're not sure of the setting or you haven't heard of it, it's basically this: I think you're a subject of an experiment living in a moon base in the near distant future, not so distant future, about 15-20 years from now, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you're supposed to be this groundbreaking breakthrough. You know what? I really hate ramps like these. These things really trigger me. They're an absolute pain to go through. And yes, basically you wake up either from some sort of a hibernation or something along those lines, and you discover that the station has been taken over by aliens. And you kind of have to figure out what the hell happened, and I guess survive. So, where do you need it? You need it there. Okay, confirm. Now, can we go this way? I know we're gonna have another ramp if we go that way. No, actually we're not, but I won't be able to turn around, so I guess we'll try and going around counterclockwise here. And it's going to be obviously a full price release because it is a AAA release as well. I think we should be fine to... Ooh, that's close. Damn it. Well, serves me for not paying attention. That guy, look, this guy has nerves of steel. He's just not caring. I'm going to reverse here. Oh, wait. Am I actually in the wrong spot? I think I am. Yes. I think I was supposed to go up. Indeed I was. Okay, we'll just back out of it. No problem. No biggie. And yes, that game looks quite promising, as in... I think that it's been developed by a relatively big name. Is it ID Software? Am I mistaken to assume that it's ID Software? Basically the guys behind Doom? Or am I mistaken with that one as well? You know what? When I start doubting myself, I really doubt myself a lot. But also that's because in the past I've caught myself saying things that made no sense or were just plain lies, thinking that I was pretty correct. So, you know, I think self-doubt is not necessarily a bad thing in this respect. Let's just drive into this nice and neatly. A little bit further to the left and straighten up like that. And as it stands, we just kind of have to back it up. That was very uneven back up. A little bit this way and straighten up. There we go. I think we're golden. Come on. There we go. Very nice. So yes, that's the only other thing that's coming out pretty soon and is probably going to be pretty big and hopefully going to deliver as well. You know, especially being a full price release, you expect a decent single player with a good story, you know, interesting mechanics, and its potential mix of action, shooting, and, you know, slightly horror or, you know, thriller kind of a thing. It would be interesting. You know, I think it's easy to see it as a similar game to Alien Isolation, but from what I've seen, from what I've read about the game and just overall impressions, it's a bit more action orientated. So it's not only you running away and hiding from things with, you know, just repelling the enemies from time to time when they get too close. It's actually you engaging them head on, but that is actually quite a appealing thing to myself, you know. Instead of running away from enemies that, if you stop, will eat you or kill you, you know, you have a chance to stand and fight. You know what? Screw you, you're not eating me, I'm gonna shoot you in the face. So yes, that kind of wraps up. There are, I'm sure, a lot of other things that are noteworthy that I haven't mentioned, but, you know, I'm still kind of getting the grips off actually getting stuff ready for these failed news blogs. So I have something to talk about, something that's upcoming, rather than just, you know, talking out of my behind. And you know, it's a learning curve for everyone. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Ow, I just hit my hand on my wheel. How clumsy am I? I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you do, make sure to hit the like button. If you didn't, dislike button is there as well. Any suggestions or comments or observations always welcome down below, and make sure to stay tuned to the channel, and you can do so by subscribing, which would be awesome. No worries if you don't. So thanks for watching, guys. My name's been Integer, and I'll talk to you very shortly. Take care for now.